get it started in here. Whew, man. Oh, wait. We do that. Because we got some things to talk. Oh, come on. We got some things to talk about here. Let me get myself set up real quick. Because we got some things to talk about here. Oh, do we got some things to talk about? Oh man, this is gotta be discussed. Let me get myself correct before we get to move on. All right, we should be good. We should be good. We should be good. We good? We good, everybody? We good? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Ravens flock. How you feeling? How you doing? Everything going well for you? Are you enjoying your Monday? It's snowing in Maryland, by the way. It's been snowing all day. It's expected to snow on Saturday for the playoff game. That's perfect weather to run the ball with Derrick Henry 25, 30 times. But we're not here to talk about that. The season has come to an end. Oop, gotta fix this for a second. I should really cut this off. The season has come to an end. And ultimately, a winner was crowned. The playoff teams were decided. I should probably get a new hat. The playoff teams were decided. Matter of fact, nah. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna take it with me. I'm gonna take it with me through the game. But yeah, the season has come to an end. The regular season has come to an end. The games have been played. The results have been shown. The events have played out the way they've played out. And at the end of the day, after 18 weeks and 17 games of football, we now know how the AFC North has ultimately gone down. The Cleveland Browns were pretty much out of this 5-6 games into the year. Basically, whenever Deshaun Watson went down, any hopes the Browns had of turning this year into a repeat in terms of making the playoffs, it died there. One can argue it died way before then. It died before the season when we decided not to bring Flacco back, but that's a different conversation. So Cleveland's hopes died a long time ago. For much of the season, they weren't competing. And you know what's unfortunate? I really wish I would have started the State of the AFC North last year as opposed to this year. Because I would have loved to have followed the story with Cleveland. Because we had a shot last year to have all 4 teams in the AFC North end up in the playoffs. So following the Browns with Flacco would have been great to do. But it is what it is. So Cleveland was already out of this long ago. It was a 3-man race to see who could make it to the playoffs. But in all honesty, it was a two-man race to see who could win the division. Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh. Once again, Pittsburgh has found a way to collapse in December once again. Every time Pittsburgh has an opportunity to take advantage of the situation given to them, claim the AFC North, and show that they are a true contender, they find a way to blow it. This has been a consistent thing that's been happening under Mike Tomlin. Now, to be fair, he hasn't had the best quarterback talent to work with. When you've got to try to make it work with Kenny Pickett and Mitchell Trubisky and Mason Rudolph and Duck Hodges, it's not a surprise that you're not able to do anything with that. But this year was supposed to be different because you got it, Russell Wilson. You were watching Justin Fields take you to a 4-2 record. Wilson comes in and he's dominating early on, quote unquote. The Steelers offense, for the first time in years, is putting up 30-plus point performances. They're back. They roll with Russell Wilson. They go 6-1 with Russell Wilson, 10-3. They're leading the AFC North. They're tied with the Bills for the number 2 seed and have a chance to potentially steal the 2 seed from them. Everything's looking up. They look like, at worst, the third best team in the AFC. They look like legit contenders. I sat back and said, this next month is going to test the Steelers and show us who they really are. Why? Because for much of the year, the Steelers were benefiting off of a weak schedule, while Baltimore was fighting for their lives, having to go up against Kansas City and Buffalo and Cincinnati and all these playoff teams early on. The Steelers were dealing with an easy schedule. The schedule was so light they were able to have a winning record with Justin Fields, and they couldn't score offensively with Justin Fields. Then all of a sudden, boom, Russell Wilson comes back, the schedule's still easier. They take advantage of an easy schedule, and they have some moments where they should have lost, but thanks to their defense and Chris Boswell, they found a way to win. But I said, that month-long stretch to end the season, where you got to deal with Philly, Baltimore in Baltimore, Kansas City, and the Bengals, who will be fighting for their playoff lives, that stretch, that monthly stretch, that 4-game stretch, would tell us everything we needed to know about the Pittsburgh Steelers. And after 1 month of football and 4 games, we know what the Steelers are. They are who we thought they were. They weren't a contender from the beginning. They weren't. They're at best a playoff team. They're not competing for anything. They have no chance to win. Even when they were 10-3, I still said that offense is not good enough to go beat the Bills or beat the Chiefs. They're not a good. They're a decent football team. They're solid. Some would argue they're good, but they're not a great team, and they're certainly not a team that's competing for a championship. The standard is the standard. Once Mike Tomlin gets a winning record, who cares about anything else? It's all about winning. We care about winning records. We don't care about winning championships. It was supposed to be different this year for Pittsburgh. It was supposed to be different for the Steelers. And yet, the more things change, the more things stay the same. The more things change, the more things stay the same. You got a different quarterback, it's the same result. Can you believe that? Woo! Can you believe that? Baltimore. You put yourself in a hole early on in this season, coming off of the AFC Championship game loss. Everyone expected you to win this division. I came into the season saying the Ravens were going to be 12-5 and win the AFC North. What did the Ravens do? Go 12-5 and win the AFC North. I even predicted their losses. I said they'd lose to Kansas City at Kansas City. They would lose to Pittsburgh at Pittsburgh. They'd lose to Cleveland at Cleveland. They would lose to the Eagles. I predicted this. The only thing I was wrong about was the Cincinnati game and the Raiders. I said they would beat the Raiders and split with the Bengals. Instead, they lost to the Raiders and swept the Bengals. It just worked out how it worked out. Either way, 12-5 is 12-5. A divisional title is a divisional title. Back-to-back AFC North titles. That's gotta feel good. You guarantee yourself a playoff game. And hey, all you could want is a playoff spot. Better yet, you guaranteed yourself a home playoff game. Go see what you can do. If situations somehow work your way and upsets happen, you have a shot to host an AFC Championship game if you get that far. But in all honesty, you know you're going on the road because the top 2 seeds aren't going to get upset at all. I don't see Kansas City losing in the division round, and I don't see Buffalo losing to Denver. Though that will be a challenge. They can't overestimate it. Either way, Baltimore, you win the division. We will obviously be speaking on the Ravens. I do have to make the video because I have been speaking. I've been saying it on Twitter and social media the last few days. I will continue to say it. There is a winning formula that the Ravens need to follow if they want to win the Super Bowl. If they follow this winning formula, they can win. They can win this whole damn thing. The formula is very simple, and I will be talking about that this week. But again, me as a Ravens fan, I'm going to keep it a beam. I have zero nerves. Shout out to The Truth with the $4.99 donation. What will the Ravens do? Put up or shut up time. What you think will happen? I expect them to get it done. I'm going to be honest, guys. I am not doing any more of this. I am beyond doing that. I got no nerves. I've got no anxiousness. I've got nothing. This team continues to run their mouth and talk about handling business. You keep talking about the Super Bowl. Got to get to the Super Bowl and win. Lamar has talked about it. Derrick Henry's now talked about it. Mark Andrews has talked about it. Kyle Hamilton has talked about it. Marlon Humphrey has talked about it. Roquan Smith has talked about it. At some point, it's time to live up to the expectations. Lamar, Mark, and Derrick all set the tone in their final locker celebration a few days ago when they won the AFC North title. They set the tone. Everything Lamar, Mark, and Derrick Henry said, they set the tone. It's go time. Time to dial in. Lock in. It's the playoffs. You've been in this position before. You failed to finish. Don't let it happen again. Get the job done. So I've got no nerves. If this team means what they say, they practice what they preach, and they're serious about getting it done, you go get it done. The only team this team should have any concerns with is Kansas City. And at that point, you got to get to Arrowhead. And then at that moment, you focus on what you need to do to beat the champions. Because that's a dynasty. But in terms of getting there, I've got no concerns. Because if you're about your business, you're going to handle your business. Newsflash, Ravens flock. Baltimore has beaten every team minus Kansas City in the playoff race. Not in the playoff race, in the playoff picture. They beat Buffalo, they're in the playoffs. They beat the Chargers, they're in the playoffs. They beat the Broncos, they're in the playoffs. They beat the Steelers, they're in the playoffs. They beat the Texans, they're in the playoffs. The only team in the AFC playoffs right now the Ravens have not beaten this season is the Chiefs. And the only way they can get to the Super Bowl is to book a ticket to Arrowhead and try to gain some sort of ground and redemption for what you did in the AFC title game last year. So no, I don't have any nerves. I have no nerves. I've got no concerns. Because at the end of the day, this team is going to show me what they're about. I don't want to hear the chirping about what you want to do and what you want to be. We got to lock in and all this other stuff. That's cool. You can say all you want to say. Handle your business. Handle your business. This is something that's got to be said. Because I'm trying to think. Heading into last year, when I look at the playoff picture, we had beaten Cleveland, but we didn't beat Cleveland. We had beaten Cleveland, but we had not faced off with Cleveland when Flacco was there. We beat the Texans, which is who we faced. I'm just thinking about the wildcard round. We didn't face off against Buffalo last year. Neither did we face off against Kansas City. There was just a bunch of matchups in the playoffs that we had not faced off that season. We took on a lot of NFC teams last year. So we had not faced off against a lot of these teams that win the playoffs. Like Kansas City, we had not faced off against. Buffalo, we had not faced off against. We took on our divisional foe in the Browns, but that was without Flacco being the quarterback there. The Steelers, obviously, we took on, but we lost both games, so we didn't beat them. Last year's playoffs, you were a dominant team. You were the number one seed. But in terms of the playoff matchups, the only team you had beaten in the regular season that I can really think of was Houston. And yes, you beat Cleveland, but you didn't beat Cleveland with Flacco as the quarterback. You beat the Texans and you matched up with the Texans. It was a perfect matchup and you made the adjustments to get it done. But you hadn't faced off against Kansas City and you hadn't faced off against Buffalo. This year's different. You have taken on every single team in the playoffs this year. The only team you lost to was Kansas City. You beat Buffalo. You beat Pittsburgh. You beat the Chargers. You beat the Broncos. You beat the Texans. I'm not here for the excuses. You've proven you can beat them. It's not like last year where you had gone into the playoffs in any of these matchups you didn't really know except Houston. You've faced off against every single team in the playoffs this year. I'm not here for the excuses. If you were able to beat them in the regular season, you should be able to beat them in the playoffs. The only focus and concerns at that point, or at this point, would be handling your business and booking a ticket to Arrowhead as quickly as you can. Handle your business this week. Handle your business next week against whoever you face off with. Book that ticket to Arrowhead and see if you can redeem yourself for that AFC Championship game loss. It's not like last year. This team has faced off against much more adversity and has actually taken on every playoff team in the AFC. So don't tell me they can't beat the Steelers. I watched you beat the Steelers by 17 on Christmas in your building. Don't tell me they can't beat the Chargers. They went to LA and beat them. Don't tell me you can't beat the Bills. You beat them by 25 in your building. Don't tell me you can't beat the Broncos. They came to Baltimore. You beat them by 31. I'm not listening to excuses. I've got no nerves, no anxiousness. If you're about your business, you're going to handle your business. It's not last year where it was a bunch of wild cards like, okay, well, this team won all these games against teams over 500 and stuff, but a lot of teams they faced off against wasn't the exact same team that you had seen, and some of those were NFC teams, like dealing with the Rams and dealing with the Niners and dealing with the Seahawks and stuff like that, and the Lions. This year you're facing off against guys you've already beaten. You beat Pittsburgh 3 weeks ago. Do it again. And it's not one of those things where you're sitting back and saying, well, beating a team 3 times is hard. They beat you in Pittsburgh. You beat them in Baltimore. It's a split. You should be able to handle business. So I'm not going to listen to anybody that's going to ask me, are you nervous? Are you anxious? Or maybe you're nervous and anxious. Me, I'm not. I'm not going to listen to be like, well, Pittsburgh's had our number. We've lost so-and-so game. I'm not trying to hear that. I'm not. This is the playoffs. It's the playoffs, the postseason. You got all these people on this team talking about the Super Bowl getting there. Marlon has said for years he wants to know that feeling of being at the Super Bowl and being a part of it. He wants to know how it feels to play in the Super Bowl. Kyle Hamilton said it, man. Handle business. We win division, step 1. Step 2, handle business in the wild card round. Step 3, handle business division round. Step 4, handle business in the AFC title game, get to the Super Bowl, and then win it. There's the process. You brought Derrick Henry here to finish off the job you couldn't finish in the AFC title game last year. Where is the excuse? Baltimore has no excuses. And I'm interested in seeing if any one of the media journalists or media analysts, any one of them are willing to actually speak about this. I'm interested in it. Because I could put the stat right out here. I'm going to do it in my video as well. Baltimore is 9-0. They are 9-0 when Derrick Henry has run the ball for over 100 yards. Their record against the current playoff roster, against this current playoff picture, 5-0 when Derrick Henry has run the football for over 100 yards. And we don't even need to talk about the average margin of victory because they crushed the Bills when Derrick Henry went off for nearly 200. They crushed the Broncos and he went off for 150 plus, or was it 130? It was a closer game against the Chargers, but again, it wasn't really a closer game. They kind of just made it a game at the end of the day. Defense still figuring out things, even though we were up double digits, but whatever. Derrick Henry ran all over the Chargers. He ran all over the Bills. He ran all over the Broncos. When Pittsburgh came there, they lost by 17. He ran all over the Steelers. So the margin of victory is double digits in these games against playoff teams, the very same playoff teams you're seeing. So the formula is there for them to win. I'm not listening to excuses. Since week 12, the Ravens defense has been number 1 or 2 in every statistic. And that includes them going up against current playoff teams that they will potentially face, such as the Pittsburgh Steelers. Since week 12, they've been a top 3 defense. So the defense has fixed themselves. Lamar's having an historical season. Derrick Henry's having the second best statistical season of his career. I'm not here to listen to the excuses for this Ravens team as to, oh well, Pittsburgh's had their number. Go get it done. It's in your house. You're the better team. Handle your business. So yeah, Baltimore, congrats on winning the division, but you were expected to. You won the AFC title game last year, and then you added Derrick Henry. You lost pieces, but Lamar's your quarterback. When you have one of the big four, the expectation is playoffs. And when you don't get there, people will say some things about you. Which kind of leads me into the other guy who is unfortunately going to suffer from that fate, in Joe Burrow. We'll get back to the Ravens, obviously, but I have to talk about the Bengals here because while the Ravens get to celebrate winning a title, winning the AFC North title, I got to be specific. It ain't win a championship. They won the AFC North title, which, it's whatever you want to make it. Winning the division, you take pride in that. That's the first thing you want to do. Win the division, win in the playoffs. You want to win the division, win in the playoffs, then win your conference, get to the Super Bowl, and then win the Super Bowl. There's always a process in that aspect. But, yeah. While Baltimore has won a divisional crown, Cincinnati is on the complete opposite of this. They're going home. They're going home. Let me be very specific when I say this. Joe Burrow has put up an all-time great season, a historical type season. I'll leave that other part alone. He's put up a historical season. Jamar Chase won the Triple Crown. Trey Hendrickson led the league in sacks. So let me get this straight. You've got a quarterback that led the league in touchdown passes and passing yards, a receiver that won the Triple Crown, and a pass rusher that led the league in sacks. All three of these guys on the same team, and you missed the playoffs. That is the first time in NFL history that a team that has a quarterback that's leading the league in passing yards and touchdowns, a receiver that won the Triple Crown, and a pass rusher that led the league in sacks. It's the first time in NFL history a team that has all three of these players missed the playoffs. I've been saying it for weeks now, and I was already prepared. Joe Burrow, welcome to history. You get to sit right next. Let me put you right here. You get to sit right next to Drew Brees. Your season will be compared to the 2012 Saints. The 2024 Bengals will be compared to the 2012 Saints. And 2024 Joe Burrow will be compared to 2012 Drew Brees. Congratulations. You just put yourself in a room that you don't want to be in. Nobody wants to be in this room. Why would you want to be in the room where you put up historical numbers in the season, but your team doesn't even make the playoffs? Cincinnati had all the opportunities to make sure they avoided the situation. They failed to get it done when they needed to get it done. 9-8. You won 5 straight to finish off the season. Congratulations. It means absolutely nothing. Jamar Chase won the Triple Crown and is sitting at home in the playoffs. You know, the last guy that won the Triple Crown went to the Super Bowl, made the game-winning touchdown, and won Super Bowl MVP. His name was Cooper Kupp. Yet Jamar Chase is sitting at home for the postseason. The 2024 Cincinnati Bengals are a prime example of why every game matters in the National Football League. See, we've made these arguments with the NBA fans. This is a part of both the NFL fans and the NBA fans. I hear it back and forth. We have explained to the NBA fans that what makes our sport different from your sport is, with the NFL, every game matters. One loss could potentially cost you your season. You can't afford to lose games. In the NBA, you lose 3 or 4 games, you can recover from that. You can. And especially with how they've extended things with the play-in tournament, you don't even have to be a top 8 seed to qualify. You can be the 10th seed, win 2 games in the play-in tournament, and now you're in the playoffs. So you could be 30 and 52, qualifying for the 10th spot in the weak Eastern Conference, and then you somehow win 2 games and you're in the playoffs as a 30 and 52 team. It don't work like that in the NFL, even with them extending the playoffs to be a 7th seed. It doesn't work like that. They're a perfect example of why every game matters. Cincinnati has had it very, very rough in some of these games. In week 2, they had the lead against the Chiefs. They blew it. They had a chance to stop Mahomes, but a controversial penalty, pass interference call, 4th down, put the Chiefs in field goal range, and they lost that game. They had a chance against the Ravens twice. Went to overtime with them once. They had an opportunity in OT. Actually, they had an opportunity before OT to put us away. Burrow got picked off by Humphrey. Then they had a chance in overtime. Lamar fumbled the ball. They recovered. They're in field goal range. They have an opportunity to win. You missed the field goal. Next possession, King Henry takes them to the 5. Game over. Then in the second matchup in Baltimore, they had a chance to win. They go down the field, score a touchdown, tie it, or make it 35-34. They chose to go for 2. And yes, it was controversial because there should have been a penalty called. But a lot of times in those situations, when the game is on the line, refs aren't going to make the call. They treat those plays like Hail Mary plays. They don't call pass interference on Hail Marys. It's the last play of the game. They treat those games like they treat those moments, those 2-point conversions to try to take the lead in those type of situations, they treat them like Hail Marys. So they're not going to blow the flag. Unless you have to be so blatant with it. Or you just have to damn near grab a guy and just yank him and throw him for them to try to pull the flag out. You lose 35-34. The Chiefs game hurt you. The 2 losses against the Ravens hurt you. But you know what really hurts you guys? You know what really hurt you guys? It was 2 games. 2 games that I look at. Actually, I can argue 3 games that hurt you. That everyone would have thought you would have won, and you didn't win. The number 1 game that hurt you, week 1 against the Patriots. The only time this defense truly showed up in the first half of the season. You can argue. Because, they shut down inferior teams like the Giants. It don't matter. But week 1 against the New England Patriots, your defense holds the Patriots to 16 points. Not much, but you hold them 16 points. You've got an elite offense with a top 4 quarterback, a top 3 receiver, and they got another arguably top 10, top 15 receiver. You had all your guys out there in week 1 against the Patriots. What happened? Your offense puts up 10 points. You put up 10 points at home against the Patriots and lost that game. And yes, controversy happens with some of the calls, but you should have never been in that position in the first place. You lost that game against the Patriots. One can argue that is the main reason why you ended up missing the playoffs. That loss against the Patriots cost you a chance to go to the playoffs. That would be the number 1 reason. But in all honesty, I don't think that's the only reason. Exhibit number 2. Week 3, primetime game in your building against the Washington Commanders. You let a rookie Jaden Daniels in his 3rd ever start in the National Football League. You let a rookie Jaden Daniels come into your house and drop 38 points on you, including the game-sealing touchdown to... game-sealing touchdown to Terry McLaurin. Now, of course, Jaden Daniels went on to become what he is, obviously. He's going to be Offensive Rookie of the Year. He might go win a playoff game. Dude's a bona fide baller. But 3 weeks in, we didn't know what he was going to be. In fact, if you looked at it, the Commanders' offense in week 1 and week 2 was very poor. I watched them. They got stomped by the Bucs. Speaking of which, we might have to talk about that this week. They got stomped by the Bucs, and they couldn't score against the Giants' defense. But here we are, Week 3 in Cincinnati. They're unloading offensively against your team. Your defense couldn't stop a rookie in his third ever game. You got smoked. You don't lose that game to Jaden Daniels, you may be in the playoffs. That's exhibit number 2. Here's the one that really sticks out to me, and I don't care what you want to tell me. This exhibit number 3 is very scathing. Very scathing. Exhibit number 3, the Steelers game at home. You were at home against Pittsburgh, and you let the Pittsburgh Steelers put up 44 points on you. Yes, turnovers. We know the Steelers defense they can turn turnovers into points. That's what their defense does. But you let the Steelers walk into your building and drop 44 points on you. The Steelers cannot consistently score. And yes, some of those points were defensive touchdowns. But you let them walk into your building and drop 44 points on your head. The Steelers as a football team struggles to score. And you let them walk into your house. These are home games we're talking about. These aren't away games. The 3 games I just gave you. The Week 1 game against the Patriots, that was in Cincinnati. The Week 3 game against the Commanders, that was in Cincinnati. The Pittsburgh game, where they gave up 44 points, that was in Cincinnati. This is in your building, in your house. You let the Patriots walk in there and beat you. You let the Commanders walk in there and beat you. You let the Steelers walk in there and beat you. You had the Ravens dead to right in overtime and you couldn't win the game. These are the games. These are the moments that cost you your season. You have nobody to blame but yourself. This football team wasted an all-time year from their quarterback, an all-time season from their receiver, and an all-time season from their pass rusher. At least in terms of team history. It's the best year from any quarterback. Joe Burrow put up the best performance of any quarterback in Bengals history. Jamar Chase, I believe he put up the best receiving performance of any receiver in Bengals history. And Trey Henderson probably did the same thing too. They set records this year. They set records this year for your team and for the National Football League this year. And they're not even going to get to compete in January. Because you as a football team couldn't handle your business in the biggest moments. And yes, Joe Burrow he does have some blame in these situations because he turned the ball over in these moments. Go look at his turnovers in the fourth quarter. They hurt them in these situations. Not saying it's his fault primarily, but as the quarterback, you do take some of the fall because of how situations turned out. But we know it wasn't all Joe Burrow's fault. It's a team game, and the defense let him down all season. And Zach Taylor, I don't even know how he still has a job. Zach Taylor should be gone, but he's probably not going to be. So you'll be back next year, and you'll probably struggle again, and you'll probably end up missing the playoffs because you are not a good team. You are led by 4 great players. And you may be losing one this offseason because I don't know how you're going to be able to pay both Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Those 4 games are the reason why you're sitting at home. Which is why it kind of irks me. It really gets on my nerves when I'm seeing some Bengal fans here trying to make some sort of accusation that the Chiefs don't want to see them, so they purposely threw the game. I don't know if they threw the game or not. I don't even know if they're trying. But this idea that the Bengals just have this in their mind, that they're this big bad wolf that nobody wants to see. Based off of what? Please tell me based off of what? Kansas City's in the playoffs. You lost to them. Baltimore's in the playoffs. They swept you. Pittsburgh's in the playoffs. They damn near swept you here. If the Pittsburgh Steelers weren't an incompetent team, if they had not completely collapsed, the Steelers would have won that game. And they would have swept you too. You want to talk about the Chargers? They beat you as well. So who's really afraid of you? Where's this fear factor, this big bad wolf? Because you got to the Super Bowl back in 2021? You talking about a Super Bowl you got to 4 years ago? And that's why teams should be afraid of you? As if you still have the same defense back there? You let guys walk. That defense is a complete mess. They're a complete mess. Not even close to being that 2021 unit. But you think you're this big bad wolf. You struggled to beat the Steelers, and they almost beat you again. They almost swept you. You got swept by the Ravens. You lost to the Chargers. You lost to the Chiefs. Where is this fear factor? The nerve of these Bengal fans to think that just because you beat them once to get to the Super Bowl, that all of a sudden you're this big bad wolf and you can beat everybody. Oh, you can beat everybody. They don't want to see us get in the playoffs. Sure, buddy. This is why I always say that every fan base of every sport is the same. You guys want to try to throw this aspect in, oh, this entire fan base is humble. No, that fan base has humble fans. But that fan base is just like every other fan base in sports. Because the second that team gains some sort of success, their fans turn into the other toxic fans you'll talk about in any other fan base. Everyone want to talk about Cincy's fans, just being humble, not really doing anything with Andy Dalton, trying to get something going, never got it going. They always got to the playoffs and went one and done. Then you get Joe Burrow. And you get a taste of postseason success for the first time since the 1980s. And all of a sudden you want to pump your chest up and act like you're better than everybody else. And it's been funny watching Bills fans completely ignore what the Bengals have been saying. They're so focused on taking personal shots at Lamar and the Ravens fans, just like Ravens fans are taking personal shots at Josh Allen and the Bills. It's been a back and forth affair. Both sides have been toxic. But Bills fans have been focusing on doing that to Lamar. They completely ignored the Bengals fans. Because the Bengals fans have been screaming for the last 2 weeks that the Chiefs don't want to see them. Excuse me? The Chiefs don't want to see? What? The Bengals fans are screaming the Chiefs don't want to see them. Last time I checked, you're fighting for the 7th seed. If you win, you got to go to Buffalo. The fact that you're talking about Kansas City like that means you're just overlooking the Bills like you were going to automatically go to Buffalo and just beat Josh Allen and the Bills. Bengals fans been talking spicy, and Bills fans ignored that because they want to attack Lamar and Ravens fans just because it's a back and forth affair and a huge war for the MVP. But the arrogance that some of these Bengals fans show, and how they got all up in their feelings saying, oh yeah, the Chiefs are scared of us. That's why they blew that game against the Broncos. You haven't earned the right to get to the playoffs. Can you believe this? You talked so much trash to Kansas City and then turn around and ask them to help you. You hadn't earned the right to get to the playoffs. You had to rely on a team you hate to try to get into the postseason. You know how pathetic that is? You know how sad that is? And then you have the nerve to accuse them of being scared of you? You haven't beaten Patrick Mahomes in 3 years. But they're scared of you. I'm sitting here as a Ravens fan. We've beaten Mahomes once. You think I can sit back and say, oh yeah, they're really scared of us because we got Derrick Henry now? Based off of what? We won one time against Mahomes. If anything, we're supposed to be the ones scared. And we got to go prove ourselves. You beat them once 3 years ago. And all of a sudden, Kansas City's just in fear. Even though the following year you got back there and they beat you. And then every meeting since, they've beaten you. But oh, they're scared of you all right. The arrogance of that fan base. The arrogance. Not everybody, thankfully, but the arrogance of the loud Bengals fans that wanted to run their mouth and act like the Chiefs are scared of them. You know what? Sure, they're scared of you. They're so scared of you that they are going to focus on three-peating and creating history, and the Bengals are going to fall into irrelevance once again. Way to go. Way to go. You wasted an all-time great season by your quarterback, your receiver, and one of your main pass rushers. Way to go. Great seasons from all three of them. They don't even get to compete in the playoffs because that team couldn't get it done. So you Bengals fans that are running your mouth, you have all the time in the world. Feel free to keep running your mouth and accuse the Chiefs of being scared of you and everybody in the playoffs not wanting to see you. You have all the free time because your team's heading to Cancun. So you have all the time to run your mouth on Twitter. Go ahead. You have all the time in the world. Your team's not competing for a title. You'll be on the couch watching. The players will be on the couch watching. They'll be in Cancun watching. Your team didn't earn the right. Losses at home was the difference maker. The loss week 1 to the Patriots was a difference maker. The loss to the Ravens in Cincinnati in overtime was a difference maker. Letting the Pittsburgh Steelers walk into your building and drop 44 was the difference maker. Letting a rookie Jaden Daniels walk into that building and drop 38 Those were difference makers. Those are the aspects that cost you. Maybe next time you don't start the season off playing so damn poorly. You started the season off 0-3, and halfway through the season you were 4-8. Not even halfway. 75% of the season, 60, 75% of the season, whatever. Majority of the season, you were at some point 0-3 and 4-8. Yet you have the nerve to run your mouth like you were this world beater. Based off of what? Your defense has been trash all year, and you just assumed they were going to shut down everybody? You couldn't stop Baltimore's offense. You couldn't stop. Like, what was this idea that these Bengals fans were putting in their brains that made them think that they're this big bad wolf that no one wanted to see? Based off of what? Based off of what? You had a healthy Joe Burrow, a healthy T. Higgins. Well, not even healthy T. Higgins, but a healthy Jamar Chase, a healthy Trey Henderson. You had your guys. And you couldn't get to the playoffs. You know what's sad? You finished with the same record you did last year. A healthy Joe Burrow just finished with the same record that the Bengals finished with last year when Jake Browning had to finish the season off because Burrow suffered a season-ending injury. So you ended up with the same record that Jake Browning got this team last year. How humiliating. 10 wins could have got you to the tournament. 10 wins is all you needed to make the tournament. You couldn't get that with Joe Burrow playing like this. Maybe you don't blow it to the Chargers. Maybe you don't blow it to the Ravens. Maybe you don't blow it to the Commanders. Maybe you don't blow it to the Steelers. Maybe you don't blow it to the Patriots. All games that you could have won. But you're getting mad at Kansas City and saying they're scared of you. They don't want to face off against you. You haven't earned the right to say that. Your team played awful this year. Your quarterback had a historical season. Your receiver won the Triple Crown. Your pass rusher led the league in sacks. And they don't even get to compete in January because this team was garbage for a 17-game span. But the fans want to run their mouth as if they deserve to. Enjoy Cancun. Back to the Ravens here because that is the main focus as we finish this off. Because we don't really have the state of the AFC North being long this week. Let's actually do a brief recap because I just went right to it for the season-wise. Let's do a brief recap here because the final week of the season was the AFC North week. So let's do a brief recap here with some statistics and stuff. Baltimore, obviously the AFC North finished off on Saturday. It was the AFC North finale, I guess, because they decided to put both AFC North games on the same time. Baltimore played 4:30 against Cleveland, and Pittsburgh and Cincinnati went at it at 7 or 8, whenever it was. So Baltimore and Cleveland were up first. Baltimore won 35-10 in this game, but in all honesty, if you watched it as a Ravens fan, this was not a good look. They were very sloppy. Very sloppy. Receivers were dropping passes. 9 drop passes. 9 drop passes. 9. Lamar was 16 of 32, with the team having 9 drops. If you wanted to, and they were all in their hands. Funny enough, he finished with 50% completion. If the receivers hold on to the ball, Lamar completes 78% of his passes. So Lamar, honestly, he missed like 2 or 3 throws. But guess what? Every quarterback's gonna miss 2 or 3 throws a game. Lamar was putting the ball in the hands of receivers, and they were just dropping it. Mark Andrews had 2 passes square in his hands. In one of them, he let a defender punch it right out of his hands after he had already made the catch. The other one, he let the dude strip it out of his hands as soon as he made the catch. Those went for drops. Guys were dropping passes left and right. That is a concern. It's January and it's cold in Baltimore, and they're dropping passes. To make matters worse, it snowed today. There's snow outside. It may snow in the playoff. It's a 50% chance. It might even go higher. Let me look at the weather report right now. It might actually be higher. Because it snowed. It snowed today. There is a 70% chance it's going to snow on Saturday. So the playoff game is going to be a snowing game in Baltimore. The receivers were dropping passes all over the field on Saturday. If these guys fail to show up in another playoff game, it's going to be a bad look for them. A serious bad look. And to make it even tougher, Zay Flowers might not even play in the game. Now, we did get some good news. Zay Flowers' injury is not season-ending. He didn't tear anything. He's not going to require surgery. According to Harbaugh, it's day-to-day. That basically tells me he's probably not going to play in the wild card round. He's going to try to go. They're going to try to get him as much medical attention that he needs, get him therapy, get him everything he needs. The medical staff is going to do everything possible to see if Zay Flowers can be ready to go for the wild card round. But there's a good chance he's not going to play. There's a good chance he's not going to play. With or without Zay Flowers, you are expected to beat the Steelers. That's it. With or without the Zay Flowers, you're expected to beat the Steelers. You've got Derrick Henry, you got Lamar Jackson, you still got Rashad Bateman, you still got Mark Andrews, you still got Isaiah Likely, you've got weapons. There's no reason you shouldn't win. With or without Zay Flowers, you should win this game, and you know it. So that's unfortunate there. Other than that, Baltimore played sloppy and still won by 25. That's a very embarrassing aspect by the Cleveland Browns. But that's what's going to happen when you don't have a quarterback playing. And it's funny how they just decided to just deactivate Jameis and say, you know what, you're not going out there anymore. Bailey Zappi went out there and pretty much was the starting quarterback in this game. He was awful. He had a touchdown pass, which was on Brandon Stevens' head. Speaking of which, Brandon Stevens, man. Oh, that guy. Brandon Stevens is going to bring every Ravens fans. He's gonna make sure every Ravens fan has a heart attack on Saturday. Matter of fact, he's gonna make sure throughout the entire postseason, as far as Baltimore goes, even if hopefully they get all the way to the Super Bowl. But as far as the Ravens go, Brandon Stevens is gonna have all of us just hyperventilating and having nothing but stress because we know teams are gonna target him in the playoffs. Bailey Zappi was garbage on Saturday, but you know what? That touchdown pass was on Brandon Stevens. It was his fault. And the funny thing about it is, Bailey Zappi targeted Brandon Stevens 3 straight times. Leading up to that touchdown, he targeted 3 straight times. Teams are just actively targeting Brandon Stevens because he's not good. He can keep up with the receiver, but he can't turn his head around to make the play. The media's been calling him out. Former players are calling him out. Brandon Stevens has been bad. And the sooner they wake up and realize that, the better it will be. Just start Tre'Davious White. Just do it. Brandon Stevens would not be in the starting lineup right now if Arthur Millette was healthy. But he's not healthy, and he's probably not going to play in the postseason, so it's unfortunate. That's why you should probably just start Tre'Davious White, but that's a different conversation. Lamar, again, had nine drop passes, so he finishes 16 to 32, 217, two touchdowns, no interception. Obviously, he didn't get the passer rating record because his receiver sold, but it is what it is at the end of the day. You just take what you can take. Derrick Henry, 20 carries for 138 yards, 2 touchdowns for him. That is the formula. We will talk about that in the video. Rashad Bateman stepped up. Zay Flowers going down early on means Rashad Bateman had to step up because he was definitely the de facto number 1 receiver. 5 catches, 76 yards, and a touchdown. Andrews, 4 for 54 and a touchdown. He did his thing. Likely made some catches. Henry got a couple catches out the backfield. And, it was just kind of going all around. Defense did one hell of a job, man. The Ravens defense, man. Nate Wiggins had a pick 6. His first career interception went for a pick 6. The best stat I had heard all season from any Ravens player was given to me by Nate Wiggins. Nate Wiggins has more touchdowns that he has scored than he has given up. Nate Wiggins has given up a total of 0 touchdowns all season and has 1 pick 6. He's been a lockdown corner. Exactly what we expect him to be. He's just as advertised, and he's had an amazing rookie season. You've got your guy in the future to be right next to Marlon Humphrey. Michael Pierce also got a pick. That was also the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. Michael Pierce backed up. He backed up, man. He backed up into coverage and picked off Bailey Zappi. A D lineman backed up into coverage and picked off a quarterback. I ain't seen that since Super Bowl 50. That was amazing. That was amazing. I don't know what else to say, man. They did their thing. 2 interceptions there, 1 being a pick 6. I'm looking what else they had. They had 2 sacks on the day. Kyle Van Noy was able to hit one of his quotas with a sack. Good on him. The other sack went to Odafe Owe, who ended up getting 10 sacks on the season. So Odafe Owe, first double-digit sack season of his career. That's big. We asked him to step up this year. He has. Shout out to the defense, man. They really went out there and just terrorized the Browns. But also, they don't really have any good quarterbacks. But at the same time, Baltimore's been doing this the last month to anyone, including playoff teams. It's been really funny. Seeing how this defense has changed up, yet Brandon Stevens remains to be the same issue since week 1. Interesting. Anyway, yeah, the Browns situation at quarterback was terrible. Bailey Zappi was awful, but he wasn't as bad as DTR. DTR came in and just looked. Oh, God, DTR just does not look like an NFL-ready quarterback right now. He still needs time to develop. So, yeah, Browns lose. Ravens win. They win the AFC North. And Cleveland has a situation because Myles Garrett has already sat back and said he's not interested in sticking around for a rebuild. So the Browns have now got to spend the offseason speaking with Myles Garrett and figuring out where his mindset is. They have got to come up with a plan to convince him to stay. And they need to show a plan because he says he needs to see the Browns' game plan to help them get back into contention. If they don't have a plan, he's probably gone. He's not sticking around for a rebuild. So Myles Garrett could be on the move. That is something to look out for in Cleveland. Deshaun Watson also, he may not even be back on the field at all for the 2025 season. Apparently, the Achilles injury is not progressing as they thought it would. The healing process is not progressing, so he's going to be delayed. That's not a good thing for them. And we don't even know what they're going to do in the draft. They're going to be a top 3 pick. Are they going to go with the quarterback or not? We don't know what Cleveland's going to do. So their season's over. They got a lot to think about in the offseason. Their cornerstone player, Myles Garrett, may actually leave, and they have to figure out how to convince him to stay. So that's the talk in Cleveland. As for Baltimore, you won the division. You know what's on the line. Get ready for the playoffs. Do what you need to do. Next week, you're up against Pittsburgh. On the flip side, Cincinnati and Pittsburgh. This game right here was a perfect example why both these teams deserved absolutely nothing this year. I mean, if we're going to be honest, the Bengals didn't deserve to go to the playoffs. And the Steelers didn't deserve to win the division. With the way both these teams played, you could clearly understand why they're in the position that they're in. Steelers didn't deserve to win the division. Look at the way they were playing. Look at the way they've played the last month. Bengals didn't deserve to go to the playoffs. Look how they played all season. The Pittsburgh Steelers in this game. This was the game to break them. This was the game to break many Steelers fans. This was it. The standard is the standard. They have completely crushed the hopes of every Steelers fan in terms of thinking about this year being different. They were 10-3 a month ago. They had taken down the Browns, beat them by double digits. They handled the Bengals. In fact, they were looking so well that people were starting to say they were a Super Bowl contender. Then what happens? You got to go to Philadelphia. You lose by 14. You got to go to Baltimore. You lose by 17. You get to host the Chiefs at home. You lose by 19. Then you have a chance to beat a Bengals team that's not good, to at least head into the playoffs with some momentum, and you lose 19-17. Let's get Cincinnati out the way first in this matchup. Joe Burrow in this game probably had one of his more mid performances. This was not a great performance by Joe Burrow. The Steelers got to him. Joe Burrow, 37-46, great aspect to this in terms of 46 passes. 37-46 for 277 is not a good thing. 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He also fumbled the ball. QBR 45, passer rating of 89. It wasn't a great performance by Joe Burrow. Thank the defense. The Steelers defense did everything in their power to help this team try to win and head to the postseason with some momentum. But apparently the Steelers don't know what momentum is, and they can't take advantage of a damn thing. Jamar Chase had himself a good game, 10 catches, 96 yards, and a touchdown. He scored the only touchdown the Bengals were able to get, and he scored that in the opening drive. Gesicki had some great catches. He was a consistent pass catcher, 8 for 68. T. Higgins, 4 for 53. After that, it was just a few catches here and there. Khalil Herbert had 7 catches in this game for 14 yards. You can't do anything with that. It was constant checkdowns in the backfield because of the endless pressure Pittsburgh was putting on Joe Burrow. He had to get rid of the ball so many damn times. The Cincinnati defense, they actually got 4 sacks in this. Funny enough, they had 4 sacks. 3.5 of those 4 sacks came from Trey Henderson, who led the league in sacks this year. But Cincinnati's not going to the playoffs. What a waste. What a damn waste. Cincinnati did not play well enough to win this game. But thankfully, the incompetence of the Pittsburgh Steelers ensured they would ultimately win this game. Pittsburgh. Russell Wilson. This is why they moved off of him in Denver. This is exactly why Denver moved off of him. Because of games like this. Because of performances like this. This last month, He has reverted back to Denver Russell Wilson. Russell, 17 to 31, 148 yards, a touchdown, no interceptions, good for him. QBR of 31. His QBR and passer rating was worse than Joe Burrow. 31 QBR, 78 passer rating. Can you believe that? Can you actually believe that? Anytime they had a momentum, it was crushed. Calvin Austin fumbled the ball. On the return. The defense working their tail off trying to stop the Bengals. Calvin Austin fumbles the ball. What do you do with that? What do you do with that? Najee, 12 carries for 36 yards. Not good enough. Jaylen Warren, 6 carries for 21 yards. Not good enough. The Bengals defense is not great, and you're not getting any great production in the running game from your guys. You're getting decent production, not great. Pat Freiermuth, honestly, the only person that showed up on the offense. Pat Freiermuth, 8 catches for 85 yards. And it sucks that he's the one that had the game-losing drop on 4th down because he showed up. 8 for 85 and a touchdown. Everybody else, twiddling their thumbs. Mike Williams made 1 catch. That was it for him. Unfortunately for Mike Williams, that was his only target. Russell wasn't even look his way again. Crazy. Najee, 4 for 20. You don't expect him to do much. Jefferson, 3 for 18. But let me tell you right now, Russell Wilson was the number 1 reason they lost this game. The number 2 reason they lost this game is the crash-out king himself, George Pickens. I mean, do you even care anymore, dude? Do you even care anymore? What are you doing? Hey, man, life is really funny. The National Football League is really funny. You know, things can get really crazy. Life tends to go crazy. Everybody in the Ravens flock wanted the Ravens to take George Pickens. They said, no, we're going to get Odafe Owe. George Pickens was doing his thing, but he was always a problem. He was always a problem. Like the previous Steelers receivers. Like a Claypool. Like a Juju. Like an AB. Like a Martavius Bryant. He was just like them. Talented, but problematic. Ravens fans complained about, having Odafe Owe. He wasn't producing anything in previous years. He was always hurt or just not producing. They wanted George Pickens. Funny how life works. Odafe Owe puts up his first double-digit sack season. No issues with that guy. He looks like he's making the progression we want to see. George Pickens comes out, puts up arguably his worst performance of his career, and you have Steelers fans wanting him traded because his attitude stinks. He's not even trying out there on you. Sometimes on these routes, he's not trying. On some of these routes, he's not even trying to run the route. When the ball gets picked off, he's not even trying to make a play. He's too busy fighting with other people. He's fighting with the fans. He's fighting with the players. He'll fight with his own teammates. He'll fight with the media. He'll fight with people on social media. All this guy does is fight. He want to crash out. This is what Pittsburgh's got to deal with. And that's why fans want him gone. Endless crash outs from this guy. He's the second reason they lost this game. Russell Wilson targeted George Pickens 6 times. George Pickens had 1 catch for 0 yards. 1 catch for 0 yards. 3 were drops that were in his hands. Unacceptable, inexcusable from that guy. Pittsburgh had the ball. Defense has done all they can. Final drive here. 2-minute offense. All you need to do is go down the field, score a field goal. You win the game. Boswell's money. Easy. Just get to field goal range. Russell Wilson wasted damn near a minute and a half to go 15 yards. Russell Wilson he's a veteran. Understand this. Russell Wilson is one of the main veterans in this league. He's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. He went out there and displayed one of the worst time management drives I've ever seen. He couldn't manage a clock to save his life. Russell Wilson on 1st down, after converting on third or fourth down. After converting, Russell Wilson scrambles. The time is just winding down. They're not spiking the ball. They got one timeout. Mike Tomlin's just standing on the sideline looking like this. He's watching Russell Wilson blow the game away. He's doing nothing. Russell Wilson takes off. He has a chance to get out of bounds to stop the clock. What does he do? He stays in bounds, lowers his shoulder, and tries to hit one of the Bengals player. He gets dropped in bounds. Remember, they only got one timeout left. And the clock just winds down. What are you doing? Run out of bounds, Russell Wilson. Then on third down, he takes a deep shot to guess who? George Pickens, who was open. They don't connect. Fourth down, he throws to the Freiermuth, incomplete. Pittsburgh heads into the postseason with 4 straight losses. Their offense looks abysmal. Their defense looks gas. Mike Tomlin hasn't made any adjustments. Their time management still stinks. This team is a dead man. This team is a dead squad walking. They are a corpse. Which is why Baltimore has no excuses not to beat this team down. That's Pittsburgh's season. Russell Wilson showcasing that he still had some of that Seattle Wilson left. And then he went in the final month. He went from Seattle Russ to Denver Russ. That's why they moved off of him. And now you got to go play a playoff game in Baltimore with your team playing like this. Best of luck. And Baltimore, if you blow this, you will be the biggest laughingstock in the National Football League. So I just want to put this out there. With that being said, that's it. Cleveland was eliminated weeks ago. Cincinnati did not get the help they needed from Kansas City, even though they were desperately begging for them to give it to them, and then accused them of being afraid of them when they didn't get the help they wanted. So they're out of the tournament, and Pittsburgh and Baltimore will face off in the wild card round. So this will be the second to last State of the AFC North address, because next week will be the conclusion, and the winner of that matchup ultimately wins it all. Baltimore winning the division was just part of it. You got to go beat the Steelers in the playoff game. You do that, you won it all, and we can sit back and truly crown the Ravens kings of the North. You handled business. You outlasted everybody else in your division. So we'll see what happens next week. Anyway, guys, that's it for my State of the AFC North address. I will take a look at some of these comments. Wow, I always find a way to go an hour and a half. I will take a look at some of these comments, and I will head on out of here. Give me a second. All right, let's see here. All right, start from the top. I love doing this now. What's going on? What's going on, Richardson? What's going on, Cordy? What's up, bro? Congratulations to y'all winning the division. Much respect. Yep. Bengals fan, but go Ravens. Appreciate that, man. What's going on, Ravens 76? This game is going to be stressing me out. I'm going to be perfectly fine and calm and cool and collected. Handle your business. There's nothing to stress about. Handle your business. Do us a favor. Do a motivational video like you did in the wild card game against the Titans in Tennessee 4 years ago. Lamar got his first playoff win. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm done giving this team motivational speeches. When I do my preview for the Ravens Steelers, it's not going to be a motivational speech. I don't have any more of those. You've squandered opportunities. Y'all have called me out on this all season when I have sat back and showed little to no excitement when they've been winning these games. I've been very pessimistic this season, and y'all called me out on it. And I told you guys I expect this. I came into last season with no expectations. I came into this season with no expectations. I am one of the people that said if the Ravens go 17-0, I wouldn't care because you have to show me it in January. Go redeem yourself. So if I'm going to be pessimistic about the regular season, don't expect me coming out here giving you a motivational speech for the wild card round. Now, I will be making a video for the Ravens in terms of the playoffs. But nah. It ain't going to be motivational. It's going to be a reality call. It's going to be a reality call. Let's see here. What else you guys got? Steelers were 10-3, then blew it in 10 games. Well, 10 days. Well, actually, 11 days. Steelers are first round exits. Ravens win by 3 scores. They better win. Bengals are. What's going on, Miguel? Bengals are trash. Hope they go winless. Well, they're not gonna go winless. Bungle's gonna bungle. Yeah, bro. But Steelers always give us problems. I'm scared. I'm very worried. I'm not scared. I don't give a damn about Steelers. Listen. If you're about your business, you handle your business. If you are about your business, handle your business. You think Kansas City is scared of Buffalo or Baltimore walking into Arrowhead? I'm tired of this. No, handle your business. Handle your business. You have blown far too many opportunities at this point to be sitting and talking. Oh man, they've had our number. They always give us. Handle your business. Lamar Jackson, for the first time in his career, got to take on the Pittsburgh Steelers in Baltimore with the crowd behind him. We blew them out by 17. This team is begging to die. Half the fans have already quit. Get it done. I'm not listening to this whole worry or anxious. No, get it done. If you can't beat the Steelers, if you can't beat the Steelers at home, what could you possibly hope to believe could happen against Buffalo or Kansas City? If you struggle against this team, how are you going to go on the road next week against Buffalo and beat them? Explain that to me. How can you expect to go into Arrowhead and beat the Chiefs if you can't handle the Steelers? No nerves. Handle your business. If you're about your business, you handle your business. Simple as that. Simple as that. I actually see the Broncos upsetting the Bills. I think that's a matchup the Bills have to take very seriously. They can run the football well. They are an effective running team, and the Bills struggle to stop the run. They're a middle-of-the-road run defense. So that could actually be a concern. And Bo Nix is throwing the hell out of the football. I've already made a hot take. If Bo Nix beats the Bills, that would be the biggest win any rookie's had this year. You might want to argue Bo Nix for Rookie of the Year if he goes into Buffalo and pulls off the upset. What's up, bro? It's been a long time. What's going on, Alexander? The it factor is possibly there for the Ravens flock. The Ravens test is facing well-known teams on their schedule, like a midterm exam, pretty much. And we'll have that same midterm exam next year. Did you see our schedule? Whew. Ravens are supposed to be one of the top 3 teams in the AFC. Yep. Beating Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. It's not, but it's a step to get to the Super Bowl. Don't be Bengals fans that try to act like beating Patrick Mahomes is the Super Bowl. Because with the way they talk, they sit back and puff their chest up as if beating Patrick Mahomes was the ring. Oh yeah, Steelers lost to every team in the AFC North Division one time. Yes, they did. Definition of a team game: 3 players balling out, but the rest of the team can't hold their own. Pretty much. And that's why Cincinnati's at home. Pretty sure if the Bengals won that first game against the Patriots, they would have made the playoffs, and the Patriots would have had the number 1 overall pick. Potentially, but hindsight is 2020. Bengals should have found a way to pay DJ Reader on drafts or draft on defense. It is what it is. Now they got to go pay Jamar Chase and try to see if they can fit T. Higgins. Bengals beat the Chiefs once. Since then, in 3 meetings, Bengals are 1-3 against the Chiefs. My bad. My math was wrong. 1-2. And if the Chiefs do three-peat, bet you'll Cincinnati fans will brag how they would have stopped them if they had been there. Of course they would. They ain't got nothing else to talk about. Bye-bye, Bengals. You needed help from the Chiefs to get into the playoffs. The Chiefs and The Rock says it doesn't matter, Bengals fans. Your team's not going to the playoffs. That's funny. Lamar will beat the Steelers, no doubt, but he can silence the world if he beats Josh Allen in Buffalo and beats Patrick Mahomes in Arrowhead. He has to do it. It's not just about beating those guys. You got to beat those guys and go win the Super Bowl. Both things have to happen. If he beats them but gets the Super Bowl and loses, there will still be a narrative out there. You've got to go win it all. Been telling folks Russ needed beast mode. That's fair. Who needs Zay when you have the king? Well, we do need Zay. If you're going to go on a run, you do have to throw the football at some point. And we're going to need him against Buffalo. But if you don't have him against Pittsburgh, at the end of the day, guys got to handle their business. You've got plenty of talent to beat that team. Go do it. Low-key nervous for Saturday. I have 0 nerves for Saturday. If you're about your business, you handle your business. You think Kansas City's nervous? Kansas City has 2 of their divisional rivals in the playoffs right now. This is what's going to happen. They have 1 of 2 possible opportunities. 1 or 2 possible outcomes can happen. The Chargers beat the Texans, and the Chargers have to go to Arrowhead. By the way, the Chargers and the Chiefs played close, and it came down to the wire. It's very tough beating a divisional rival 3 times. You think the Chiefs are afraid of taking on the Chargers a 3rd time, knowing that fact? Denver nearly beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead. If they upset the Broncos in round, Broncos. If they upset the Bills in round 1, Denver gets to go to Arrowhead, where they nearly beat these guys. It took a game-winning block by the defense to stop the Browns from beating the Chiefs. You think Kansas City's afraid of seeing a divisional rival that nearly beat them? No. There's no fear factor in this. If you're about your business, you handle your business. That's why they're a dynasty. If you're about your business, you handle your business. Simple as that. Simple as that. No fear, no nerves. Handle your business or go home. Simple as that. Did you see Ravens Did you see Ravens players calling George Pickens soft in the locker room? Yeah, one of the players did. I don't exactly know who did, but it is what it is. It's a rivalry. Trash talk has always been trash talk. It is what it is. You know, just because the cameras are not rolling does not mean you don't hear trash talking happen throughout teams in the playoffs. We know. We saw Antonio Brown literally live stream after they beat the Chiefs to get to the AFC Championship game in 2016. They were trash talking the Patriots. Mike Tomlin said some things about the Patriots too. Patriots got to hear that because of Antonio Brown live streaming. They all talk trash in the locker room. It's just the cameras aren't always rolling. So this is not a surprise. This happens in every locker room. I'm completely in that mindset. January choking is the norm, followed by ignorant blame game arguments. I didn't even watch the draft after last year's AFC Championship game. Also agree, if we're losing to the Steelers, hell with it anyway. Pretty much, handle your business. If you're about your business, handle your business. Simple as that. They were talking about Lamar's perfume in the locker room, and somebody called George Pickens soft in the background. Yeah, that's what happened, but it is what it is. That will be an annoying game for the Bills. Yeah, the Broncos will be an annoying game, so Buffalo's got to be on their A game. Also, we cannot let the Steelers hang around. I feel my stress levels will be high Saturday. You can feel your stress levels be high. I'm going to feel perfectly comfortable. If they can't beat this team, they don't deserve to go try to win the Super Bowl. All the talking you've heard from our veterans will be nothing more than talk if they can't beat the Steelers. Handle your business. That's it. You talk about wanting to get to a Super Bowl, this is your chance to get to a Super Bowl. Handle your business. Do the Ravens have a chance to get Tyreek Hill? I don't know. That's something you would have to deal with in the offseason. Who let Antonio Brown give out NIL deals? That's funny. But anyway, guys, that is it for me today. That is the end of the state. Oh, I actually thought I went an hour and a half. I went an hour and 11 minutes. It is what it is. Anyway, that is the end of this for me. That is the end of the State of the AFC North address. This will be the second to final State of the AFC North address because we will be back next week. We will either be back happy that we handled business or pissed off that this Ravens showcased themselves to be frauds once again. And we'll have things to say no matter what happens. So yeah, until then, I will see you guys later. I can't give you a specific time, but I will see you guys later. Be on the lookout. I'll be making videos this week. I got a lot of things to say about this team, and I got a lot of things to say heading into the playoff game. Be on the lookout. So yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you guys pulling up. Ravens won the AFC North. Cincinnati goes home. Pittsburgh's coming to Baltimore for the wild card round. It should be interesting. Let's see how things go down. With that being said, thank you everybody for tuning into the stream. I appreciate you guys. Thank you all for the love and support. Be sure to stay safe, and peace out.